Is the U.S. going to go into recession or not?
Look, I'm going to defer to economists who give it about a 50% chance. I think all these things are probably inflationary a little bit more and slowing down the economy.
50% chance of recession, and Donald Trump is scrambling by trying to control the nation's largest retailer. Hello everybody, David Schuster here. Republicans used to hate it when the U.S. government would tell businesses what to do or what prices to set, but now that it's Donald Trump embracing price controls, the GOP is quiet. Officials at Walmart recently told investors and the public that the nation's largest retailer is raising prices and said this was a direct result of the Trump tariffs. Trump went full government control and hammered Walmart.
Trump took to social media, writing in part this: Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices. And that between the company and China, they should, as is said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything.
Now, a couple of things here. A few weeks ago, Donald Trump insisted that the foreign nations being tariffed would pay the costs and that American consumers would not see any changes. Now, Trump is acknowledging that tariffs are causing import costs to go up and that U.S. consumers could in fact face higher prices. Here is CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin with Tariffs 101.
Look, it's a tax. It's a tax on the American people. I don't even know how many more times we need to say that part of it. I think the bigger question now is just what kind of political pressure there is going to be on businesses to eat some of those costs and what kind of political pressure there will otherwise be if they don't. You know, it's interesting to see this White House, a Republican White House, go after businesses in this way. The Wall Street Journal, by the way, in their editorial page this morning saying he goes, this is he as in Donald Trump, he goes full Kamala Harris in demanding that the retail giant not raise prices. That's something, frankly, that we have seen from Democrats over the years, especially during the pandemic and other times, where they have effectively said that corporations were trying to gouge customers and trying to use their leverage to do that.
Of course, as many economists and analysts have pointed out, there is a key difference between the Democratic and Trump Republican approaches. Democrats, in trying to stop price gouging, have focused on industries in general. Trump, in trying to protect his own ego and poll numbers, has drilled into specific companies by name. Also, while Democrats have demanded transparency from various industries as to why they are raising prices, Donald Trump doesn't want any transparency at all. A few weeks ago, he slammed Amazon over a proposed plan to label price hikes as they are correlated to tariffs. Amazon backed down.
What's most interesting is that it's coming from the Republican side of the political world, insofar as it is very true that, you know, President Biden in the past, President Obama, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, you can name the folks on the left who historically have taken businesses to task over pricing. And that's not a new phenomenon. Typically, though, when they did it, they didn't always name names this way. They often talked about some of these companies in a sort of broader context. I think by really taking aim directly at a Walmart, by the way, just last week, he took aim, meaning President Trump took aim at Tim Cook at Apple for manufacturing or potentially manufacturing things in India. So I think that's where this gets super complicated, because he does have a rabid following, and he can turn that rabid following for or against a particular business. You can go back and think about what happened to Target after some of the LGBT sales items that they had for sale, and just sort of how quickly the political world turned, or the Republican world in particular, turned against Target. Same thing happened with Budweiser. And so when you have a powerful voice out there that's coming from the White House talking either positively or negatively about a specific company, boy, that is new. That is new.
Walmart has buckled under the Trump pressure and backed down. The retailer says that for now, it will absorb the tariff costs so that consumers don't pay higher prices. However, all of this has made for some remarkable exchanges at the White House press briefings. Reporters have reminded White House officials that just last week, Trump economic advisors said the idea that consumers would pay higher prices because of the Trump tariffs was silly. Now, with Trump scrambling to pressure various companies to eat the higher costs themselves, the questions to the Trump White House include this.
Does he acknowledge that if companies don't absorb the full cost, Americans will have to pay? Well, first of all, the CEO of Walmart made those comments about the tariffs on an earnings call where CEOs, I believe, are legally obligated to give the most dire warnings and forecasts to their investors and stakeholders. The reality is, as the president has always maintained, Chinese producers will be absorbing the cost of these tariffs. And that is why China was so quick to hustle to the negotiating table with the United States of America.
Actually, China wasn't quick, and the deal the White House claimed with China turned out to be an agreement in principle since it was not comprehensive. That's why the tariffs with China were dropped down to 30% for only 3 months. Trump essentially surrendered while negotiations continue. Also, when Levitt says China is absorbing the costs of these tariffs, that's contradicted by Trump, who demanded Walmart eat the costs of the tariffs. Trump knows there is a cost here in the United States. He wants the tariff cost to be shouldered entirely by companies, including Walmart and Amazon, and not be passed along to U.S. consumers. Also, regarding Walmart officials and their comments about the tariffs, Levitt was wrong when she insisted it was just on an earnings call. The CFO of Walmart spoke about the tariff impact publicly on CNBC.
Although we're wired to keep prices low for customers. But the level of tariffs that have been proposed is pretty challenging for all retailers, for suppliers, and certainly our concern is that consumers are going to feel some of that. So we've not seen a period where you've had prices go up this high, this quickly. We're well equipped and experienced in dealing with elasticities or price increases that are going up 2 or 3%, but not 30%.
The fact is, polls show most Americans understand that tariffs could cause prices to go up and that the costs from U.S. tariffs are passed along to businesses and consumers here in America. The political problem for Donald Trump and his party is that Trump promised his tariffs would be painless to U.S. consumers. Now, countless small companies are going out of business because of the tariffs. Prices are rising across America, and all Donald Trump can do is threaten to try to control Walmart, so at least the nation's largest retailer is not part of the trend, proving Trump to be a liar. But even Walmart says that its absorption of tariff costs will be temporary, and that given Trump's chaotic on-again, off-again approach to tariffs, there are no guarantees. But here's one. The political equation on all of this is clear. Republicans in special elections keep getting destroyed thanks to public anger at Donald Trump and the GOP. Most Americans have lost confidence in Trump's management of the economy, and they expect a recession. So even if Walmart prices are not going up immediately thanks to Trump's browbeating, the political cost to the GOP because of Trump is mounting. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.